In April of 1955, at a hospital in Princeton, one of modern science's most iconic figures, Albert Einstein, passed away at the age of 76. But what ended with his death wasn't just a life. That day, the world of science didn't just lose a genius, it began to move toward a turning point. Because on the day Einstein's brain went missing, it wasn't just the brain of one man that disappeared. It was the pursuit of one of humanity's most important sources of intelligence. Einstein's brain, it was not buried with his body that night. Because the pathologist who performed the autopsy, Dr. Thomas Harvey, made an unexpected decision. He removed the brain, measured it, weighed it, and placed it in a jar. His reasoning was simple. He wanted to study the brain and contribute to scientific research. However, in doing so, he did not get approval from either Einstein's family or his will. In fact, there was a clear truth. Einstein's brain was officially stolen from him that day. Behind the theft of Einstein's brain, there was a scientific curiosity. What are the secrets of human intelligence? The stolen brain represented much more. At the time, scientists were searching deep within the brain, perhaps for the formula behind such a great intellect. It was believed that everything was an algorithm, a mathematical equation. Studies on the brain's structure and how it worked were an attempt to solve the mental software of human intelligence. It became an example of how the scientific passion of an era turned into something that crossed ethical boundaries. In the end, the brain had become the code scientists idealized. Behind the theft of Einstein's brain, there was a scientific curiosity. What are the secrets of human intelligence? The stolen brain represented much more. At the time, scientists were searching deep within the brain, perhaps for the formula behind such a great intellect. It was believed that everything was an algorithm, a mathematical equation. Studies on the brain's structure and how it worked were an attempt to solve the mental software of human intelligence. It became an example of how the scientific passion of an era turned into something that crossed ethical boundaries. In the end, the brain had become the code scientists idealized. However, at some point, this effort also raised ethical questions. Can intelligence be measured? If intelligence has a biological source, can we replicate it? As we searched for answers to these questions, the boundaries of science began to blur. Einstein's brain was no longer just an organ. It had become a symbol of the scientific desires of an era. The brain was no longer a way to understand the human, but a code to be deciphered. Today, we have arrived at a similar crossroads in AI research. There were those searching for intelligence in physical components. It's in software code. Back then, brain tissue was placed under a microscope. Now, it's algorithms fed by billions of data points. So, doesn't this lead us to the same questions? Can intelligence be a model? Can the human mind be replicated? The human mind, at first glance, seems to be nothing more than a complex interaction of neurons, synapses, and chemical signals. However, the consciousness that arises from this biological foundation, along with phenomena such as imagination, intuition, and self-awareness, still forms a multi-layered superstructure that cannot be fully explained. Therefore, both examining the structure of Einstein's brain under a microscope in the past and trying to give artificial intelligence human-like ways of thinking today are directed towards the same common goal: understanding how consciousness arises. Neuroscientists believe that the network formed between the brainstem thalamus, and cerebral cortex, the three main regions of the brain, forms the foundation of conscious awareness. This trio works like conductors of an orchestra. One controls wakefulness, another filters sensory information, and the other shapes our experience. But what if consciousness is not purely biological? According to evolutionary biology, it is not. Consciousness may have evolved as a result of species trying to adapt to their environments. Mental processes like thinking, feeling, and planning may have turned into tools that made survival easier. However, some scientists are not satisfied with this. They are trying to dig deeper. Those who link quantum theory with consciousness suggest that quantum processes occur within microscopic structures inside the brain. Consciousness might be a phenomenon that can be understood not through classical physics but through quantum physics. And there is also the philosophical side of it. If consciousness is such a universal thing, is it really only ours? Could there be a spark of consciousness woven into the fabric of the universe at the very foundation of matter? Panpsychist theories argue that consciousness is not just a biological feature, but a fundamental aspect of existence. Today, we still do not have a clear answer, but now we have powerful theories, advanced neuroimaging technologies, and bold questions. Consciousness is still a mystery, but maybe mysteries only find their meaning when we dare to chase them. And maybe the real question is this: are we trying to solve consciousness, or are we trying to solve ourselves? Artificial intelligences, brain scans, quantum theories, they are all bringing us one step closer to that silence. But no one really knows what we will encounter at the end of that step. And maybe the beauty lies exactly here. We are not in a world where everything is solved, but in a universe we are still curious about.